Hi people, welcome to this episode of At Frankie Says IELTS, and today we're going to be focusing on how you would plan and also write the graph question, which is the IELTS writing task 1 question. So guys, quickly, we have a few kinds of graphs that you might get asked about in the test. The first one is the line graph. The second one is the bar chart. The third one is the pie chart. And the other 4 possibilities include table, map, process, and multiple charts. But in this episode, we will be focusing on possibly the more common one, which is the line graph. The question. The graph below shows the consumption of fish and some different kinds of meat in a European country between 1979 and 2004. Summarize the introduction by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. First step, guys, making a plan. So how I broke mine up, I looked at the 4 different options. So fish, lamb, beef, and chicken. And used those notes, those ideas, to create the main message of the graph and also the 2 key points of comparison. So let's start with fish. We can see from the graph that it was consistently the lowest of the 4, and also that there was a slight drop over the 25-year period, around 60 to 50. Lamb, it was generally the 3rd most popular, but in comparison to fish, which had a slight drop, there was a more significant reduction, a more significant fall between the 25-year period, from around 150 to 60. And these comparisons are important because the question says make comparisons where relevant. Beef. Main point for beef. It started as the highest, most popular number. After initial spike, there was a drop, and it finished as the 2nd highest. Chicken, the 4th category, we can see a steady rise, and also started as the 3rd highest, finished as the highest, overtaking beef. So the main message that I can get from the overall picture is lamb, fish, and beef followed a similar pattern, and their figures dropped over this period. But with chicken, there was a steady increase and a move from 3rd to most popular. So those are the main messages, and that is going to determine my summary sentence at the beginning of the graph. We'll come on to that in a second. So the 2 points of comparison that I would use from this information, I'm going to describe, first of all, lamb and fish together and comment on a similarity. Then I will describe chicken and beef together and comment on the difference. So that is how I'm going to structure this graph description. Let's look at the structure. So in the introduction, we need to state what the graph is showing and highlight, summarize the main pattern. Main body, key point number 1, comparisons, and key point number 2 with comparisons. And we have deduced that from our plan. We've got the 2 key points of comparison, which we will use in the main body here. And we have got the summary of the main message, which we are going to use in the introduction after we have stated what the graph is showing. Let's have a go at writing the graph description. The graph shows the quantity of various meats and fish that was consumed between 1979 and 2004. Couple of points to notice here, people. One is I have paraphrased the wording in the graph just a little bit and the wording in the question. So you can see that the question says the graph shows the consumption of fish and some different kinds of meat. Instead of saying different kinds of meat, I have said various meats, which is a synonym, and instead of using the noun consumption, I've changed it to use the verb consumption, which is consumed, and I've written that in the passive form. Second one, highlight and summarize the main pattern. So overall, 3 of the groups followed a similar pattern, with lamb, beef and fish dropping to varying extents in this period. In contrast, the figure for chicken rose consistently in this time, and that is my summary of the main pattern. Main body now, people, and remember guys, this is a 150 word summary, so that the introduction stage is going to be as succinct, short as possible. So the main body, as we planned for in the beginning, I'm going to describe lamb and fish together. It can be observed that consumption rates for lamb and fish reduced over the 25-year period. At the beginning of the period, consumption for lamb was 150 grams per person per week, falling steadily over the 25-year range before finishing at just under 50 grams. However, the drop for fish was far more gradual, with a starting point of 60 grams before finishing at just under 50 grams. For the vast majority of this period, fish and lamb remained as the lowest and second lowest preferences. Okay guys, so at that stage we have completed key point 1. Now we are going to address key point number 2, which is comparing chicken and beef together and looking at the difference here. On the other hand, the trajectory for chicken and beef were markedly different. Chicken began the period as the third most popular option, with a figure of around 145 grams, and despite some dips, its curve rose sharply over the period, finishing with nearly 250 grams in 2004. Whereas, although its number initially spiked in the first 5 years to reach a high of 240 grams in 1983, the figure for beef subsequently fell rapidly. In 1988, beef was overtaken by chicken as the most common option, a trend which continued for the remaining period. The final figure for beef was around 100 grams in 2004, 150 grams fewer than the average number for chicken. The graph shows the quantity of various meats and fish that were consumed between 1979 and 2004. Overall, 3 of the groups followed a similar pattern, with lamb, beef and fish dropping to varying extents in this period. In contrast, the figure for chicken rose consistently in this time. It can be observed that consumption rates for lamb and fish reduced over the 25-year period. At the beginning of the period, consumption for lamb was 150 grams per person per week, falling steadily over the 25-year range before finishing at just under 50 grams. However, the drop for fish was far more gradual, with a starting point of 60 grams before finishing at just under 50 grams. For the vast majority of this period, fish and lamb remained as the lowest and second lowest preferences. On the other hand, the trajectories for chicken and beef were markedly different. Chicken began the period as the third most popular option, with a figure of around 145 grams, and despite some dips, its curve rose sharply over the period, finishing with nearly 250 grams in 2004. Whereas, although its number initially spiked in the first 5 years to reach a high of 240 grams in 1983, the figure for beef subsequently fell rapidly. In 1988, beef was overtaken by chicken as the most common option, a trend which continued for the remaining period. The final figure for beef was around 100 grams in 2004, 150 grams fewer than the average number for chicken. Okay everyone, I hope you found this video useful. Just to recap, we looked at how to plan the graph question and also write the complete answer. In upcoming videos, we can explore a little bit more about the language of comparing and contrasting, as well as how you might introduce statistics. But for today, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and if you have any requests for other learning points that you want to see in upcoming videos, don't forget to leave a comment on the video as well. But for today, everyone, thank you very much for watching.